Dwayne Crowley here for A2.0Tv, sitting alongside Cage Warriors CEO Graham Boylan here in the Clarion Hotel in Cork. Graham, thanks for taking the time to sit down with us. You recently acquired Cage Warriors. You acquired the brand itself, and you just talk a little bit about your motives behind that. And you recently took a bit of time off. You resigned as Cage Warriors CEO beforehand, and now you're back as the owner. Just tell me a little bit about the journey to bring you back.
Resigned it in January. I had 3 or 4 months off. In other business talks got me chatting with the previous owners. We spent a long time chatting through the different options, what they wanted to do, where they were going to go, and the end of the conversations came with, would you like to take over the brand and purchase the brand from us, based on what I did with the company over the 5 years that I built it. So by the end of all the talks, I acquired the IP, trademarks, the company itself, and now we've got to put the pieces together of all the positive pieces of the puzzle that we have on the side into the puzzle to make that jigsaw work to move forward.
Now initially when you took over the brand, there were talks of a rebrand, maybe changing the name and a few other things around that. Can you just maybe elaborate a bit more on that?
There are a lot of big talks going on with TV networks, with organisations, with investors, and it's just popped up in a lot of conversations where we may look to rebrand it, depending on which partner we work with, is the basis of those comments.
Would there be a fear there that the strong name and the strong brand that Cage Warriors has built, would that get lost maybe with a rebrand, or would you be confident with a total new launch?
I think if you called it XYZ Fighting Championships, it wouldn't matter. It's the team behind what we did over the 5 years is what counts, and everyone within the game knows what we did. The team and I built a solid platform in Europe, which gave a lot of fighters the opportunity to fast track into where they are now. So I think it's the team behind the brand. That's the major interest. It's not actually the brand name. Like I said, we could call it XYZ Fighting Championships, but it's the team behind that made XYZ Fighting Championships that want to make it move forward. So if the right talks and the right partnerships are formed to create that long-term synergy and strategy that we need to move forward, decide that we need to call it this or call it that, then so be it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you, as you mentioned there, a lot of the fighters that, a lot of the European fighters were built really in Cage Warriors. I think there were 60 plus fighters came from Cage Warriors into the UFC, and it's just provided such a fantastic platform for European fighters. You mentioned in a recent interview that there may be a plan to expand into America, or would you like to just keep it local at the start under your control, maybe visiting the same countries you visited before, the New Year show in Dublin and things like that, or isn't an American expansion on the cards?
No. Cage Warriors, in its height, we had a lot of talks. We had talks with Mexico, we had talks with the States, and they were all partners we were talking with, and everything was all more or less verbally agreed in what we were doing. And obviously me resigning at the time I did kind of put a lot of things on hold, and then made a lot of things go a little bit stale on what was planned future-wise. So whether it's a rebrand or whether it's the same name moving forward, like I said previously over the past couple of weeks since all has happened, the right pieces of the jigsaw need to slot in together to see where we're going to go, what we're going to do, what it's going to be called, how it's going to work, and they're all happening right now. And the biggest thing in this is just for the fans of the brand and the organisation and the fighters especially, is just to have that little bit of patience while we make that jigsaw work to make it bigger than what it was if it's coming back.
Now a lot of people have speculated about the return date for Cage Warriors. Is there anything that you might be able to confirm, or do you have a timeline in mind for coming back?
It comes down to time frames of the meetings that I'm having. I'm on the road a lot over the next 4 weeks. I'm in maybe 5-6 different countries. and the people I'm speaking with versus me. We need to digest what we speak about, think about it, come back with questions of what's been spoken about. So it could take 2 months before we actually find that common ground. If it's done within 2 months, then yeah, I'd love to get a show in this year, maybe 2. I've said that previously, but it comes down to the discussions and finding that common ground as such that we can all work together and it all works for everybody. If it doesn't happen within 2 months and it takes an extra month, then it takes an extra month. But my eyes, and I've firmly said this when the announcement came out that I've acquired the brand, my eyes are on 2016. But if we make the puzzle and complete the puzzle beforehand, and if there's enough time, then we'll hit it in 2015. Yeah.
And will all of the fighters that are under contract currently with Cage Warriors, do you think are they still under contract?
Yeah, the contracts are in place, and I think a lot of the fighters that are contracted will be more than happy to come back and work with us. You know, we're the best team and the best show in Europe, and Imena. So I don't see any hurdle or obstacle with that whatsoever. You know, that there isn't a lot going on in Europe right now. A lot of fighters who should have been ripe and knocking on the door of the bigger show right now are not, because they haven't had those fights this year, and there isn't anywhere else for them to have those fights to get that exposure for them. So it's kind of left a void within the region, and that void needs to be picked up quite quickly so that there isn't a bigger void this time next year. You know, so I think all the fighters, managers, gyms, coaches, any one of all will be pretty happy when we actually get this sorted out.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure a lot of people are eagerly anticipating the return of Cage Warriors, so best of luck in your new position and best of luck with the acquisition.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Dan. Very nice to chat to you.